are back. The guy walking in front of StarCraft as we hype up the last match of the night will be INnoVation versus Classic, our Season 1 in Premier, SSL Premier champion versus Classic, the former champion himself.
Yeah, Classic, the only player to ever take an SSL and GSL in Korean StarCraft 2 history. INnoVation, the slight favorite here, but this has not been the dominant season that he showed us in Season 1. And this is, at least in name alone, supposed to be the marquee matchup of the night. The final match of regular season here in Round 9, Week 9. 3 games potentially left here as these two face off. INnoVation favored here on Facebook, having the lead. And likes there. So let's see how this one pans out, because I feel like this one could absolutely go either way. And if INnoVation takes this win here, then he will need to take... Actually, you know what? He can't pass Classic either way. So this is just about pride, to be honest. For Classic, you know, he's looking to take that 2-0, but he'll still find himself tied with stats.
If INnoVation 2-0s him, then he will pass him.
Yeah.
He'll be +6 to +5 in favor of INnoVation. So looking for the 2-0 tonight. Definitely the favorite for me. You even go back and look at stats, and you can see that INnoVation is in the lead. Classic having some trouble against Terrans over the last couple of months when it comes to offline matches against good players. And INnoVation, even though he hasn't been quite as dominant as Season 1, he's still very strong here. He's up towards the top. He's in 4th place before this matchup. And Classic, I mean, it's funny to say this about a guy who has 2 championships in both the leagues, GSL and SSL, but sometimes he begins to fall apart to some aggression, and I feel like INnoVation's style will be good against Classics.
And Classic's a very passive player overall, is often the player to try to go early Colossi on 3 bases. He's not really the timing attack-oriented player. He looks to go late game, and INnoVation is so good at preventing players from getting there. But if he survives INnoVation's early pressure, if INnoVation's build gets destroyed by a good defensive setup from Classic, that's when he goes into his arena late game, which has never been the forte of INnoVation. INnoVation has always won games by tempo pressure that gets him ahead. INnoVation very rarely will play a game behind, but that's when he looks at his weakest. So Classic's defense here, or maybe his new playstyle, if he brings a new playstyle to the table and goes for early aggression, maybe he could beat INnoVation in that way as well. But in terms of what we know from these two players, it's going to be the aggressor versus the defender going into this best of 3.
That is the story, and guys, we are ready to jump into game number 1. We'll be on Odyssey to find out who is going to take the lead between INnoVation and Classic. Fly, Better Fly, Tin Air, as it begins on Odyssey. Down on the bottom right, the blue Terran, it is INnoVation. Still teamless.
Somehow, some way. Top left in yellow, his opponent, it is Classic. So the winner of this series will take 2nd place and will skip a round of playoffs. Very likely, depending on how well Deer performs, we could have this matchup again in playoffs. It could be the precursor to the match that leads to the finals, depending on how this one goes, and again, depending on Deer's performance. Deer did defeat INnoVation, pretty big upset match with the 2-1 score.
Well, our playoffs are going to be best of 5s, and after watching Deer play tonight and just get totally wrecked in PvP, even though he took down INnoVation in that big upset, it was a 2-1 loss, and I think INnoVation should be the favorite in that one if it does go to a best of 5. I also think that if Classic loses, that Classic will be the favorite against Deer. I mean, Deer already showcased that he has pretty weak PvP under pressure up against Hero. That's a lot of good information that Classic can bring in. Obviously, Classic will be a little bit more passive, but Classic already 2-0'd him in Season 2. So it seems like he already has Deer's number. So I feel like Deer right now, he's happy that he made it into the playoffs, but this next entire week is going to be just like practice.
Absolutely. We got the update that it was a lighting problem. A Zest-esque pause here.
Lights issue.
Yeah. Lights issue. No toilet issue today.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cuvée, for that one. Well, as it is now, we head into this game, and it sets the stage, as you say, if Classic is able to take out Deer for what we might see in the rematch between these two. We had a very similar situation at the end of Season 1 where you got to see a rematch after the last day of Premier. So, and it gives you an idea of where we stand. Sure, it's a longer series in playoffs. The loser will have to, of course, defeat Deer in order for that to be the rematch. Let's see how this one plays out. Skipping that round against Deer is obviously a huge boon. You don't have to prepare for as many matches. You get to relax. You get extra money guaranteed. So there's obviously a pride factor on the line. There's not really a rivalry between these two players as much as there is between INnoVation and Stats, as Stats was talking about in his interview earlier. He wants to face INnoVation in the finals, wants to take his title away, and after losing GSL versus the World against him, get revenge. He also lost IM Gungi against INnoVation as well, and that's what Stats is hoping for. Classic, on the other hand, is a former teammate of INnoVation. In fact, they were both also former teammates on STX in Brood War, so they've known each other for a long time. There's a long-standing relationship between these two players that were actually Terran teammates on STX. And let's see what the build of choice is going to be for INnoVation. Remember, he is the aggressor almost every time. Classic is going to do the standard Oracle opening to try to expand here, to try to get some damage done. And it looks like Widowmines is the choice for INnoVation.
We talk about INnoVation being the aggressor, which is, you know, I feel like in this matchup definitely granted. It's kind of funny, though, the maps that he picked. His first pick was Whirlwind. We will be having that for game number 3, if it does get there. The second one was Abyssal Reef, which is also a very defensive map, but definitely a map where you can find many angles to harass the Protoss, so I do understand that one. And Odyssey here is the map that both these players picked. INnoVation picked it third, so we do see it coming up first as both players picked it. Nice scout here. Is going to scout the Stargate.
Will disrupt some mining, but very light harassed on. Losing the Reaper, a little bit painful. We've seen this a few times, the hidden gold base. It's a strategy Deer in particular really likes to do on this map. Can throw INnoVation off quite heavily if he doesn't see it. He's going to be using the Widowmines initially here for Oracle defense, especially after seeing that first Oracle and seeing the Stargate. Wants to try to get the free catch, see what path Classic takes. We've seen a lot of players alter the Oracle flight path because of this. Did he cancel the Oracle?
No, he's got it.
Okay.
He's staying in the main with everything. He's got an Adept there. He has a Phoenix and an Oracle all together in the main. Seems like he's heavily expecting a drop of some sort, and this kind of defense will definitely do good against a Widowmine drop.
That's certainly true.
Or any kind of drop, really.
What do you mean,
with
certainly?
That much stuff.
And the reason why he takes this play is because he's taking the third Nexus as well. He's spread a little bit thin. Being aggressive and then also taking damage to an attack could mean that he just simply dies. And, you know, you can, when you invest this much into a Nexus and INnoVation attacks you 2-base versus his expected 2-base, then sometimes you can just die because you lost probes early on. So even if INnoVation doesn't know about the base, you could die. Does a sneaky recall to keep the probes hidden, so no Reaper, no Scout whatsoever, no drop that could have been on the map would have scouted them. And so far, INnoVation is actually just playing very passively. Both players taking the defensive approach, but it's kind of a win in terms of builds for Classic because he has a hidden base. He's not attacking. He's being defensive. And INnoVation just simply has no idea.
He's forgetting combat shields, too. He's just not making it. I mean, he has enough gas. He's got the second tech lab. He's just not making it. Not the cleanest start here for INnoVation, I have to say. I mean, there haven't been too many mistakes, but definitely a big one is forgetting the combat shields. There it does finally come down about 30 seconds later, but
could come to be impactful, though. And we always have to mention things like this for those at home, because sometimes the inches are more important than the miles. As we were talking about earlier, the warp prism that survived, things like this that have happened all throughout tonight. The failed scout on the 2 barracks proxy. So he is going to come out and move out now with this army.
Yeah, the combat shields also is a very fast upgrade, so I wonder if at the end of the day this is actually just better timing, like he wants to use the gas faster for something else. It is going to be very close. I think he could have started it a little bit earlier.
Definitely going to be a small window of time where he doesn't have it. Charge is going to be done, so the Zealots, when they smash into this army, will be able to rip through a little bit faster. But for Classic, of course, he's not going to have Storm. He just finished his gateway. He's warping it as frantically as possible.
He has 15 Zealots, and, I mean, there's already 6, 7 Widow Mines. 8 make that. A couple that just were born at the base of INnoVation. And here he comes right down the middle.
If he defends this, he's going to be in a great position here. Widow Mines all lifted, though. Every single one of them are lifted, but even still, the kites are good for INnoVation. Wants to try to bait those Widow Mine shots back into the army here. Zealots are starting to fade away. Another lift on the Widow Mines. He's just trying to buy time for his economy to kick in with that gold base. I think he's going to need more than just Zealots to defend against this, though. This very much ranged army versus melee here.
That was incredible timing, by the way. Those Widow Mines were all about to burrow. If all 5 of them burrowed and hit the Zealots, the game would have been over.
Okay, he's going to go for it again here. Lifts up on all of them. The turrets are not ready. One shot goes off, and it does more damage to the Marines than to the Zealots.
And the Liberator immediately gets picked off. This attack is not going to work at the end of the day, even with all of those missile turrets that he did make.
And now INnoVation, operating under false pretense, it starts a 3rd command center, not knowing, unaware of the 3rd base of Classic, the gold base that allowed him to produce so many Zealots with those extra minerals. What a build. Now we could start Psystorm and could set up for a longer game here. INnoVation needs to identify this. If he does not, how could he recover?
Yeah, it's pretty gigantic. I mean, there is a lot of defense over there, but you can definitely just move over with your Marine Marauder Medevac ball and go just shell from the low ground, right? You're going to be fine. You can snipe the pylon, but you're 100% right. I mean, he doesn't know about that gold base, and he doesn't have any plans of moving over there at all. So Classic is going to be in the lead. This will all be cleaned up easily.
Yeah, even clears the Liberator here, so basically INnoVation trying to set up a soft contain, but ends up losing these units in a less than efficient manner. Now remember, INnoVation's 3rd base is a regular base, so it will last longer. It will be more valuable over time. But Classic can simply just, now that his gold base is getting low, do this. Take his normal 3rd as a 4th base and transfer the probes over as is required. As you can see, as his main starts to mine out, he's transferring those probes. We'll start the +1 weapons for Phoenixes, which leads me to believe he's going into a Phoenix Colossus composition. He's gotten so many positive trades so far that, I mean, this is going to be a great way to seal the deal on this game. INnoVation finally found the base, but look at the supply. Yeah, as Todd would say.
That tells the story of this game. It was a very strong push, but Classic was on the ball. He is not looking scared or nervous, even just one bit. In this series, he clicked all 5 Widow Mines, immediately lifted them all up, sniped them out of the sky, and now he's got this gigantic army with all the Phoenixes to support as well. We do have a Ghost Academy on the way for INnoVation. Perhaps if he gets the miracle EMPs on everything, he might be able to hold this off. But
that is if he gets Ghosts out, yeah.
Yeah.
The High Temple are being purely used for Archons. Not a single one in this army is building up for Storm, which he didn't even research. Doesn't have +1. INnoVation does have the upgrade advantage. If he could get into a nice defensive setup behind a wall, this Zealot-heavy, Archon-heavy army would struggle, but he's just not in position to do so. Does try to bait into these Widow Mines, but here we go. This is just so much Protoss.
He can kite for days against these Zealots, but it's just the never-ending horde with even more Zealots coming in, 10 more from that Warp Prism. This is not exactly where you want to fight, though. The SCVs are going to block here for days.
Yeah, he's not even really losing too many of these SCVs. The Zealots have to manually target, but here comes the Archon drop over the back. That is going to blow these SCVs out of the game. Looks like Widow Mines will defend the Adept Rabbi in the main, but it won't matter. GG, Classic with with the gold-based tactic, with the Charged Zealots. Extra minerals, gets through.
And he has a problem.
He asks for the ref. He's like, I told you to turn the lights down. Got to beat this guy, defending champion, with bright lights in my face? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, he was looking really on point. Surprising me tonight here is Classic. I mean, he's been looking strong, obviously. He's sitting at 6-2, but he's doing this to INnoVation. I mean, this is a guy that a lot of people in the community are calling the best player, the best Terran. There's also that guy and the other guy with the hat coming on the camera, giving their thoughts on what they're feeling about
they're definitely
INnoVation.
Not top spectators,
yeah,
man. Not top 10.
Yeah.
Even. They're in challenge, all right? They're going to have to learn how to be better spectators if they want to get to promotions.
Yeah, we got a lot of good spectators here that are staying in their seats.
That's right. That's what you got to do.
Those are the premier ones. That's why they came down today.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the series is not over by any means. INnoVation got duped. Both players playing hyper defensive. INnoVation not realizing what that meant for the early game there. And I mean, it's just a game of not scouting can sometimes throw you off. INnoVation's very famous for not being able to respond well to odd situations when he's thrown off kilter by a weird build like this. But not only was he not able to respond, he just never knew. So how you can't even really respond there. So for him, based on the information he had, to just sit back and play passive was the correct decision. Because if it's 2-base versus 2-base, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, if I attack in here, I could lose a fight, and he has too many units, I lose the game.
Yeah, I mean, just what you said is part of the reason why I expected INnoVation to take this one, because Classic doesn't normally do stuff like this, but it seems like Classic is the one that came in better prepared, especially for a build on Odyssey, which was the second picked map. So guys, let's hop into game number 2 on Ascension to Iron.
Rising up and getting underneath your skin, feel it turning to leather. Watch it peeling up.
Here we go, game number 2 on Ascension to Ire. Down in the bottom right, he got tricked. It is the robot himself, INnoVation.
And up here to the top left in yellow, is his opponent, Classic. The Tricker. Is that a word? I don't think that's
the Tricker.
You can just make someone a tricker. I think that they have to be a trickster. I think that's probably the word I was looking for. Yeah. Oh well. He was the one doing the tricking. We'll see if this game becomes more standard, Valdez. As skipping that Protoss versus Protoss for Classic would be pretty great. Remember, INnoVation, if he falls here, we'll have to face Deer in the opening playoff match, and that means facing the player who defeated him 2-1. And the jokes we were making during the cast was he really lost the series 3-0 because the game he lost, he was so massively ahead for the majority of it, and he dominated INnoVation, to put it frankly. So not a good feeling if you have to face that player again in such an important match as defending champion.
Yeah, and I mean, Deer definitely has the style. He's the trickier Protoss. He's the one that will do random things, like a DT in your main against who did he do that against? Biel? I think it was Biel.
Yeah.
He will just do weird random stuff. Whereas Classic, he's supposed to be the guy that doesn't do that.
Yeah, that's why it's so funny we saw the gold base there. Classic was taking a page out of Deer's book with that one and really playing his style. Sure, SOS, very known to do things like this.
The master trickster.
Unfortunately, in terms of standard play, he never wins out in longer Star Leagues, despite being a 2-time BlizzCon champion. He's not in Premier, at least not currently.
And I don't think he gets to stay in Challenge either, because he dropped out of round 1 for Challenge. So we'll have to requalify.
Yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately for SOS fans, his most notable accomplishment was like taking 1 game off Neeb for the year. So let's take a look at this build. It's a Twilight Council. The probe attacking there might have even tipped off the SCV. It's like, oh, you really don't want me to see what's in there, huh? Oh, he sneaks it. Look at the main base.
Yeah.
He sneaks it around. He's going to see it. Oh, such a sneaky move. INnoVation needs to see this. Okay, he sees it. So important. Such a clutch move to on the fly save that SCV. I think the probe attacking him was what really tipped him off. You just simply don't do that if you don't have anything to hide. Cancels immediately and goes Stargate. The timing obviously will be much worse as a result.
Classic really trying to mix up his style. I mean, this is very refreshing to see, right? This isn't the guy who does the same build in PvZ every single game, right? This is the guy who did his research, said, hey, how did Deer beat this guy? Well, just with wonky stuff. Let me try that as well. And generally, I don't feel like Classic would be canceling buildings, but against INnoVation, he'll even channel his inner Solar. As we saw today, Solar canceling a lot of tech, was able to win the series in the end. INnoVation doing his own scouting here with this Reaper.
Did check around the right side of the map. No scouting on the left side, but I think was very concerned about the possibility of a hidden Dark Shrine. And now just wants to verify that the Twilight Council was not canceled. Shades into the main lead me to believe that the Reaper was seen by something. Kind of weird how this one played out. Now going to give him an opportunity to try to jump up. Adept's nearby. That was kind of a weird exchange of events, but he actually denies the scout. I don't know what he saw the Reaper with. I'm not even sure if he did, but perhaps he was just expecting the Reaper to come back in, which is a reasonable expectation.
Because the Reaper's not there now, the Oracle is coming along the top side. And I think something tipped off INnoVation, too, that this is not Twilight Tech anymore, that this was canceled. He has that Widowmine in a weird spot to get on top of. And Oracle also is making a Viking to help out with pushing away that Oracle. Does not have any turrets or anything like that.
Yeah, I think he's just playing the safest path. He's making the Siege Tank, and the Viking can help deal with the Warp Prism if it were, you know, a Warp Prism kind of all-in with Glaive Adepts. But still, just the Oracle gets only 2 kills. Now the secret is out. INnoVation knows what's up and will just respond accordingly. Adds the Engineering Bay now to eventually get the missile turrets. Will place his units in position. And it'll be pretty unrealistic for Classic to repeat the damage he did. Although, as I say it, somehow gets 2 more kills off screen here.
He repeats the damage that he did.
Exactly, in full. And has a 3rd base up.
That's the caster curse. Look at the main. He thinks there's a Widowmine there. But there's not. Coming in, doing a ton of damage already. That's 9 SCVs. Look at the worker count right now, 52 to 32.
I think INnoVation misread this. The bunker at the front also tells the story.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess I was wrong. He was just being safe.
Maybe he thinks right now that another Adept attack is going to come after the Oracle, so he's completely misread the situation, doesn't know about the 3rd base, has no inkling, no idea, and is terrified that a Prism is flying across the map right now with a bunch of gates on 2 base about to finish him off. So wasn't even willing to put Marines in the main base, wasn't even willing to send a few over there. And now Classic is just getting further and further ahead. This scout will be denied. No information about the 3rd base. Might even want to toss a scan out at this point, but you might guess wrong as to where the 3rd base is. A risky move to even use a scan here.
I like that INnoVation is throwing down his own 3rd command center on location. He may be assuming that this is out here, especially with the Oracle build. This is a more standard approach. Obviously, not the Twilight Council into the Oracles, but Oracles into a fast 3rd base. So he's like, okay, I know I'm behind. I lost a bunch. I need to get my 3rd base out quickly. Ascension Dire is a big map. And if he can get that 3rd base on location up and mining, INnoVation isn't out of this game just yet, but he is behind.
He is really behind. The Adept count is mounting higher and higher. Widowmine count not the strongest in this game, as the 1 Siege Tank.
Ooh, there's not enough Marines over here. There is a Widowmine.
Yeah.
That could be the bait.
Okay, he sees it. Oh, no, he doesn't. Good split. Can he kill the SCV? He wants to kill the Marines first. This means the CC will likely finish, actually. Nope, just barely not. So he gets the delay, so furthering his lead. And he's already caught up an army. INnoVation had the larger army for so long because of this risky move again from Classic. This time it's not a hidden 3rd base, but INnoVation is just operating under false pretenses because he misread the scout on the Twilight Council. And Stalkers are coming out now, and we might even see Colossus tech soon. With how this is going, I mean, he's just got so much flexibility to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I think that's basically the answer, right? He doesn't have to go for a certain tech, but it's like he can do whatever he wants at this point. He's getting a lot of upgrades, and I think he might want to do some harassment as he takes his 4th. He's got a bunch of pylons on the bottom side. He did the same thing in game number 1. It didn't really come into effect, or it didn't have much importance because it was such a stomp because of the gold base, but Classic is so on top of the little things in this series against INnoVation. You can tell he has done so much practice for this guy. The pylons are spread out. He's getting further ahead, and INnoVation will have a rough time coming back from this one.
There's only one way he could try to find any harass either. It's in the main base. There's no pylons to the north side, but there's pylons in the main base to be overcharged. You have to imagine the mothership core is probably at the natural at this stage. I mean, it's going to be double Robo Colossi. He's ahead on upgrades. And now he's just posturing to try to do some harass damage here. This is not designed to kill INnoVation. It's designed to do positive trading so that when he has the Colossus fall up, he's in such a good position. Oh, whiff scan. Not even hitting the Observer. He's just going to harass these depots and force a reaction. Okay, he does scout this Prism, which is nice, but that's actually drawing him away from the third base. He really just wants units to be committed to the natural before he hits that third.
Looks like he's shading down towards the south side here. Decides not to go in. I mean, there is a tank and a Liberator. Would have been hard to break. The units at the natural are pretty close. Here we go, a drop into the main, and it goes down straight into the turret.
I think this is also at the third base there, what he's showing. Just saying, INnoVation, you better turtle up. You better be careful. You better not send any units in the dropship around the map, because I could kill you, which is not the case. Double Colossus range, coming back at home, double Colossus in range.
Templar Archives.
Templar Archives, +2 attack. And a fourth base is mining now. INnoVation fans. Not a good situation if you want the former STX Bogus to take this series and skip that match against Deer, where he failed in regular season. We're going to see Liberator range as the next tech here. INnoVation just turtling on 3 bases. But the bank is mounting. He's using all of his gas in all of these different techs. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw an extra forge come down, maybe even in a few moments here, a fleet beacon, because he just has everything that he could ever want. And INnoVation is going to make his first real move out across the map here.
I think INnoVation is going to need all of the techs himself, right? He is behind, but moving out at this point in the game is kind of dangerous. There are already Colossi on the map. There's no Vikings here. There are some Liberators. Can be easily dodged by Classic. He's got a bunch of Stalkers with Blink, and here we go. The
free Liberator.
Yeah, just not in position. Takes out the free Liberator.
Saves the Stalker, scans the army. Even if he starts Viking production now, it feels like it's just too late. I think he has to just have perfect positioning with his advanced ballistics.
Yeah.
I mean, this feels like a classic 2016 Pro League game. This is the late game classic we were talking about going into this series. This is the classic that knocked Bjorn out of SSL twice in 2016. Fleet Beacon, second Stargate. And the advanced ballistics are going to somehow have to, if INnoVation takes this win, lead to a position where the Colossi just cannot hard engage. He needs to stagger these liberation zones. Ooh, this is a scary moment as well.
Just poking here.
Storm.
I mean, you have range and you have Storm. You're not looking to force a fight. You're just looking to poke. You're threatening the shades, right? That is a lot of Marine Marauder. He is thinking about it.
I think he's going to do
forward.
it. Look, knows where he split the shades as well against where he would side storm, so the storms don't overlap. Blanketed storms on this army. And even if INnoVation somehow survives this, there's no follow-up. There's no way out of this one. Blink Stalkers come in, and it looks like this series is over.
Liberators coming in are going to buy him some time, but it may be over in just one follow-up attack.
I mean, look at how much
on by a Liberator thread at this point.
Look at how much bank Classic has, how many gateways he has. He has a 5th base. I think INnoVation's best shot at taking this game was to take one big fight, to force a big warp in from Classic to just eventually be able to use this 4th base to take a lead. But now, what could he hope to accomplish? He's desperately trying to siege up on his planetary. If Classic walks away, he's still a winner. He has the extra bases. He's researching the further tech. He has Tempest on the way. And sure, the game doesn't end now. INnoVation doesn't type GG, and the bases aren't destroyed. He's lost all control over the map. Has to turtle up around his planetary, which gives these options for Classic to now pick off these supply depots.
He's relying on a mistake here from Classic, right? He has good sieging units, and he's saying, please attack into me. Please just make a big mistake, a move command underneath Liberators with the advanced ballistics, and give me some free units because I need them right now. But I don't think Classic is going to do that. He's prepared too well for this series.
He won't even give a Zealot, not even one, as he just plays
so
tennis.
clean.
He plays tennis with INnoVation's army now, left to right here. Is going to look for the blink forward onto the siege tank, forces the siege up, backs away, uses the warp prism to maximize efficiency.
Yeah.
And we've got two Tempests out, 2 more on the way. He's going to be in fantastic position to now start sieging up this planetary. INnoVation has no map control whatsoever. Doesn't even know about
Doesn't
this.
even see the fleet beacon over there. There's still an Oracle left alive, by the way. So he can use that for tagging on all this. There's only one Viking to try to, push that away. He can easily move in and get the tag.
So poignant, the vision checks. No idea about the Tempest. And we got to see, at the last moment here for INnoVation, the fact that he still sees the silhouette of a building Twilight Council, which is where this game all began, where this game went all wrong for INnoVation. Now moving forward with these Tempests, needs to be careful not to overextend, but the storms are basically perfect on top of all of this army. The supply is dropping rapidly here for INnoVation.
It looks like that's going to do it. That one planetary is left over and some Marauders, but there's way too many high-tech units. He can siege this for days. In come the Zealots, and this is not the result I was looking for.
GG! Classic!
This is insane, man. Classic gonna stomp this Terran tonight.
Such good preparation. And now, one whole full day of playoffs skipped for Classic. He doesn't have to prepare for that best of 5 that he would have had to spend so much time preparing for. He instead prepares for this best of 3, takes the win, and will now find himself waiting in semifinals for either INnoVation or Deer. To come up and beat him there.
Man, this guy looking so clean. Definitely, this entire Season 2 has been the story of the big Protosses on top. Hero was the one Protoss that was down towards the bottom, but it's been all about stats, about Classic, and about Deer putting on fantastic performances. Deer kind of faltered towards the end, but even down to the last game, Classic stomping the Terran INnoVation, saying, I know you were the champion, but not this time around, not for Season 2.
Not yet, anyways. We might see the rematch of those two players, but INnoVation has to face off against a player who defeated him in this very same matchup in order to get there. As long as I have all my standings right, which I think I do, we are going to head into our interview, though, with our winner here, Classic, for our last interview of the evening. He's heading over to the zone right now. We'll have it ready in just a moment for you guys. But what a game, what a series, and it just felt like INnoVation, yet again, just trapped in his own tunnel of, this is the plan, this is the play, this is how I'm going to win this series.
At the end of the day, it was Terran, or rather INnoVation, the Terran that had trouble against Protoss. I thought it was going to be the opposite way here, but definitely showing some of his weaknesses. This would be the craziest gauntlet for INnoVation to get through. Deer that he lost to, Classic that he got stomped by, and then Stats that he has to beat in the best of 7 in the finals if he even gets there. So it would be a fun series, or a story rather, if he could make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about aggression versus defense. He was the defender himself, expecting those attacks. But the interview is finally ready. I'm going to have it translated for you guys.
He got second place in the playoffs with that victory. And by INnoVation, by defeating INnoVation 2-0, actually Dark is in 4th place and makes it into the playoffs. So sorry about that, guys. We actually did have our standings wrong. INnoVation is totally kicked out of the playoffs. Will be Deer versus Dark for the first one. So Classic says, I'm not happy with bringing in Dark. I don't like facing off against Dark. But I also would have liked to make it out in first place. I think Stats played extremely well, and so just unfortunate that I couldn't be in first place instead.
Wow, I thought that Dark had to win that series in order to make it through, but I suppose all he needed was one game with this result. So there were about 17 things we had to keep in mind for today, guys. We were bound to mess one of them up, but...
So talking about the build in set 2. Or the first set, rather. He says, that's a build that I was using quite often. But I also wanted to add in the recall at the gold base, so I could mine right away. We did see that tonight. Now in set 2, you did go for the Tempest. So, you saw my Twilight Council early on, but I felt pretty comfortable either way, because I was going to be in second place regardless of if I won or lost. So I figured, let's go for some early Tempests. I guess if Classic took one game, that would have secured him second place. So that's what he's talking about. Sorry, guys. It was hard to keep track of all of the stats, especially once it got down to the final game. Yeah, pretty cool that we get Dark in here. Now, to elaborate on that, he says INnoVation likes to use a lot of Liberators. So he felt like he wouldn't have a good shot if he only used ground forces. What do you think was the deciding factor in this series? He says, I don't really have a secret, but it feels like it was hard work and preparation every single day, not just today, that really gave him success. But he says, although if Dark comes in and defeats Deer, he's pretty not very confident in his PVZ, so he's not very stoked about that. So final words to the fans. So I recently showed some bad PVZs, but I'm going to make sure I reinforce that, and also, who knows, I mean, Deer might come up instead of Dark, so I'll try my best, regardless of who makes it through, and keep cheering for me.
Well, unexpected results tonight. INnoVation not making postseason. Dark barely surviving there off the back of his former teammate Classic. And I mean, we have our top 4. We're going to show them in just a moment. You guys already know who they are. But what a great last 2 series there. Even though the final one was very much one-sided, it's very exciting to see how it was done. When you defeat someone like INnoVation one-sided, that makes for a really incredible story.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that Classic, after winning game 1, he was set for second place, but obviously you can't be throwing games, right? But he would have loved to have INnoVation in there instead of Dark, and had he lost to INnoVation 1-2, then I think INnoVation makes it in, but Classic is still in second place. It's funny the way that works out, but Classic acknowledging himself like, damn, that sucks that Dark actually makes it through.
Well, here are our results today. Alive takes the 2-0. Hero similarly over Deer with the upset, nearly knocked Deer out of playoff stats. Will defeat Biel. Solar takes the win over Dark in a very close series, the best one of the night, and then INnoVation drops to Classic and will drop out. So if you were hoping INnoVation was going to just be the bourgeois here towards the second part of 2017, it's not going to win this title, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely sucks for him. Thought maybe he could take one game at least against Classic, but Classic showing really strong games. And here we go, guys. The standings that you were looking for. Dark makes it in 4th place, as he does have that head-to-head against INnoVation. Deer is going to be in 3rd, Classic in 2nd, and then Stats waiting in the finals for whoever makes it through.
It's crazy how that matchup actually is so important. The huge upset Dark took early on in the season over INnoVation actually makes this all possible. So INnoVation will, with this loss, actually guarantee his spot in Premier for the next season. Maru will, of course, have to go through relegations as a result in the fast lane. We'll have the extra life to play double relegations as he does take 6th place. And our matchups will be Deer versus Dark, and then Classic will face the winner of that, and then the winner of that will face Stats in the grand finals. That will be our gauntlet for playoffs here. Very sick top 4. Deer, I think, the biggest surprise going into this season for everybody, and the biggest disappointments are INnoVation, and to be quite frank, I think Deer. Biel was one that people were not sure about. He had a good run last season, not the best in the GSL, but it's crazy that we have a playoff with our defending champion, and both finalists from last season are not in our playoffs.
Yeah, it's refreshing too, also. You know, you get a bunch of different players in here. It's a lot of Protoss, I know. Would be cool to see Dark make the gauntlet through every single Protoss. Has got some pretty nasty ZVP. A fun Zerg story for you Zerg fans out there.
Yep, and of course our schedule is unchanged. We're going to have next Monday, Deer versus Dark. The following Monday will be Classics Round 2 match. And our finals will skip a week, and then on Sunday at 2 p.m., so very early, 5 hours earlier than our normal time, we will have the grand finals. So look forward to that. But Challenge, Valdez, is not over.
Yep, coming back to you guys. It will be me and Rapid at 10 p.m. on Saturday. Rogue versus Beyond, Sue versus Bunny, and Impact versus Jockji. Definitely some big stories in there, like Beyond expected to get first place after Sue faltering a little bit. Bunny definitely looking stronger, is up there with Beyond, and could take the win against Sue, I think, even, especially as Sue was looking a little bit weak last week. But Impact versus Jockji to finish that one out, I would expect probably Impact to take that one. Both of those guys struggling a little bit. They made it into round 2, but I feel like the bigger names like Sue, Beyond, and Rogue are definitely going to dominate there.
Definitely so. Well, it's been a great season. And of course, we have to both give our shout-outs to Rapid, who's not only been casting Challenge, but has filled in for me while I've been traveling. So big shout-outs to him for giving us coverage as well throughout the season. And, you know, we had different expectations than the results going into this round robin stage, but I think where we're at right now is a pretty fun semis, and of course before that, the quarters. So I'm very happy with how it all turned out.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. The playoff matches are going to be best of 5, so we do get that kind of more lengthy situation, and should be a lot of PvZ. I would actually expect Dark to take out Deer in the first round there, especially as Deer has shown, especially in that last series that he had to go up against Hero, that he's still a little bit inconsistent. But I mean, it's going to be cool too, because Deer did crush Dark last week, so I think it's going to come down to the pressure. Can Deer actually overcome it? Whereas Dark is always very well composed.
What's really cool too is if Classic goes to the finals and defeats Stats in a PvP, then he will prevent Stats from being the only player to hold the title that he himself has, being the only SSL and GSL champion. So there's a lot of cool storylines to flesh out as we head into the playoffs. So don't miss them. If you're here in Seoul, be sure to buy your tickets as soon as possible on the ticket link that we always have up on screen, so that you can get your good seats in the front if you'd like to. And don't miss them, because they will probably sell out pretty fast, the finals as well. So be aware of that.
Yeah, the other fun story is that Stats at the beginning of the day, he was like, I hope I get to face INnoVation and crush him, right? I would love for him to challenge me up in first place. That's what he said in his interview after winning tonight. But it's not going to be the case, as INnoVation is not even in playoffs. But that's going to do it for us. Once again, guys, thank you for watching this entire series of Premier. We'll see you at playoffs next Monday. Good night.